Most people think that ruining your life is a cinematic event. They think it looks like a massive crash or a sudden rock bottom or a catastrophic mistake that changes everything overnight, like the Terry and Arnold situation if you follow football. But it's usually not. If it were that obvious, you'd see it coming. You'd step out of the way. The reality is that ruining your life is completely silent. It's a slow, tiny leak. It happens when you're completely alone in a room with the door locked, making tiny, comfortable compromises that feel totally justified in the moment. It's a process of slow decay where you slowly lower your standards inch by inch until one day you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize the person looking back at you. You don't notice it happening because each individual step down feels like a break you actually deserve. Think about how you talk to yourself when you're on the edge of falling off. It always starts with a narrative. Your brain is incredibly smart, which means it is incredibly good at lying to you to protect your comfort. It doesn't say, hey, let's completely destroy our routine today and throw away all our goals. It more whispers something safer. It says, man, it's been a crazy week. I just need a break. I deserve this. And look, taking a rest is normal. I'm a big rest day guy. I think people who don't take rest days are trying to fail. But there's a massive difference between a strategic break to recharge and a desperate retreat into comfort because doing the work got too hard. When you start treating every minor inconvenience or bit of fatigue as a valid excuse to quit, you're messing with your own potential. And the second you open that door to negotiation, you already lost. Personally, I do this exact negotiation at the gym all the time. So, say this is you. You're halfway through a solid workout. You've been working for like an hour. And then it's time to hit some chest. But you're tired. Your triceps are feeling a little sore. Your shoulders are a bit sore from earlier in the week. And suddenly that voice steps in and it gives you an out. It says, you know what? It's fine. We can just skip the bench today. I'll do 100 push-ups when I get home tonight. Or, you need to train abs, but you don't want to stand by the mats at a busy gym. So you tell yourself, I'll do some sit-ups when I get home, right in my room. But let's be entirely honest with ourselves. You never do those push-ups. You never do those sit-ups. The moment you walk through your front door, drop your bag, and sit on the bed, the workout is done. You never intended to do them in the first place. Your brain doesn't create that at-home plan to actually get the work done. It created the plan to trick your conscience. You told yourself you'd do it later just so you could give yourself permission to forget about it without feeling the immediate guilt of quitting. It's a psychological escape hatch. You get the comfort of quitting right now, paired with the fake satisfaction of pretending you're still going to do it later. It is a loop of constant self-deception. Now, maybe you're the type of person who doesn't let one bad day completely derail your entire week. Maybe you skip the chest press, feel bad about it, but still show up the next day. You think you're safe because you didn't let it cascade into a total collapse. But the danger isn't that your whole life falls apart tomorrow. The danger is you just taught your brain that your standard is flexible. You prove to yourself that when friction gets too high, you will alter the contract. You will accept a lesser version of your plan. Once your mind realizes it can successfully negotiate you down from a hard gym session, it will start using that exact same strategy on everything else. It will use it on your career, your relationships, your creative projects, and your values. You don't destroy your life in a single day, but you slowly poison the discipline that keeps your life together. But those micro lies are just the first layer. The real trap, the one that keeps most people stuck in a flat line for years without even realizing it, is the illusion of progress. There is a specific kind of self-destruction that doesn't look like laziness at all. From the outside, it looks like hustle. It looks like motivation. It's the trap of fake productivity. And it is running rampant right now. We live in an era where you can spend 3 hours watching self-improvement videos, listening to podcasts about optimization, and scrolling through aesthetic routines, and your brain will genuinely convince you that you've done something valuable. You mistake the consumption of information for the execution of a task. You feel like you're fixing your life just because you're reading the user manual, but your actual reality hasn't moved a single inch. Look at how this plays out when it's time to actually get to work. Instead of just doing the thing, we build a massive, complex architecture around it. You decide you need to lock in. So what's the first step? You don't start the project. You open a new Notion template. You start color coding a Google Calendar. You download a new to-do list app and spend an hour setting up tags, priorities, and deadlines. You organize your desk. You change your lighting. You curate the perfect lo-fi playlist. And you map out the next 6 weeks of your life in crazy detail. You spend 2 hours planning how you're going to execute a 30-minute task. You're playing a simulation of hard work because pretending to do the thing feels safe. When you actually do the thing, introduces the risk of failure and discomfort. We do this because our brains are incredibly easy to trick with a psychological bait and switch. When you sit down and design a massive, perfect plan, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. It gives you the reward before you've earned it. In that moment, looking at your beautifully organized schedule, you feel the satisfaction of a person who has already achieved the goal. The to-do list becomes a shield. You use it to protect yourself from the raw friction of execution. It's way easier to write down, record YouTube video, or write script outline in a clean font than it is to sit in front of a microphone and face the silence. Over-organizing is just a sophisticated, high IQ form of procrastination. It lets you avoid the work while completely bypassing the guilt of being lazy. Because you can point to your screen and say, look at how much I've planned today. But this is the truth that we all need to admit to ourselves. Doing the actual thing takes less time, takes less energy, and is infinitely easier than the hours you spend avoiding it. Think about how much mental real estate you burn up just thinking about a hard task. You carry it around with you all day, like a weight in the back of your head. You stress about it while you scroll on your phone. You think about it while you're eating, and you exhaust yourself with the sheer anxiety of preparation. If you just opened your laptop and started typing, or if you just put your shoes on and walk out the door, the friction would vanish in 5 minutes. The execution is simple. It's the planning, the hesitating, and the constant mental negotiations that are actually draining your life. Stop trying to build a perfect system. A flawless plan executed tomorrow is entirely worthless compared to a messy, imperfect action taken right now. But the over-planning and the micro lies eventually manifest into something much heavier. They manifest into physical isolation. When you are quietly off track, you start retreating from reality. You stop answering text. You stop hanging out with your friends, and you stop showing up at the gym. Instead, you just stay home. You lock yourself upstairs in your room, hiding from the world. You convince yourself you just need space or that you're just chilling out, but you're actually just running away from the friction of your life. Even your family, the people living right down the hall, under the same roof, become distant because you've completely shut yourself out behind a closed door. You are physically present in the house, but mentally, you are completely out of reach, wrapped in a loop of avoidance. And what do you do when you're in your room? You tell yourself you're going to play video games and just decompress. Then you fire up the game, look at the menu screen, and something terrifying happens. It isn't even fun. Your dopamine receptors are so completely fried from constant, non-stop hyperstimulation that normal gaming doesn't even move the needle anymore. You sit there with the controller in your hand, bored out of your mind, staring at a screen, feeling completely numb. You don't even have the focus or energy to play a game you used to love. So you pivot to something that requires no effort. You pull out your phone, drop your head, and start scrolling on TikTok for hours. If you guys can't tell, I have something against TikTok and doom scrolling. I think I've mentioned it in every single one of my videos. Anyway, I don't know. You just let the app feed your brain so much cheap stimulation while your real life flatlines. This is where the ultimate trap settles in. You start fantasizing while your thumb is flicking through videos. You're building a massive alternate reality in your head. You fantasize about the person you want to become, the money you want to make, the physique you want to build, and the creative projects you want to launch. You play this perfect movie of your ideal future over and over and over again in your mind. And because those thoughts are so vivid, your brain mistakes that fantasy for an actual achievement. You get a temporary rush of satisfaction just thinking about who you could be, but you aren't doing a single solitary thing to actually build it. You're just using those fantasies as an emotional painkiller to distract yourself from the cold reality that you're currently sitting in a dark room doing nothing. But eventually, the screen turns off, you plug your phone in, you turn off the lights, and you lay down in your bed. And this is the exact moment where everything catches up to you. Believe me, this happened to me recently. So, the middle of the night is the only time left in modern life where your brain is forced to be completely and utterly alone. There are no apps open, no notifications, no videos playing in the background, and no distractions. It is just you and your thoughts in the pitch black. And in that heavy, brutal silence, the fake reality that you've been protecting all day completely shatters. You look up at the ceiling and you feel that sick, heavy, sinking feeling in your chest. The noise is gone, the coping mechanisms are turned off, and you are forced to look at your routine completely raw. You hit that exact moment of clarity where you think, what the hell am I doing? That question is the most uncomfortable, painful realization of your entire week, but is also the most important thing that can happen to you. That sinking feeling is your brain finally snapping out of the coma. It is that sudden wake-up call reminding you that nobody is coming to save you. Nobody's going to hand you that fantasized life. And if you keep living like this for the next year, you are actively choosing to end up completely average. When you hit that midnight realization, you have two choices. You can wake up tomorrow, make another micro excuse about being tired, and slide right back into the safe, comfortable loop of decay. Or you can decide right there in the dark that you are completely done playing games. You decide to lock in. You decide to stop negotiating, stop planning, and start executing. You don't notice when you're ruining your life, but tonight is the exact night that you choose to start building it.